Atención, para abrir la puerta del tren, presione el botón cuando se ilumine.
Bitter criticism. Let's be happy this Thursday. Thursday, English as usual. Reading CGTN. No, I'm not going to read CGTN. I'm going even. I don't know. I feel tired about CGTN. And let's read Russia Today. Yeah. Like Russia, Trump was negotiating peace, taking peace talks with Ukraine. Look. And says U.S. confirms Putin-Trump talks. March 18. Putin has concluded his phone conversation with Trump, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said. File photo, Kremlin something. No, this is the White House. Russian President Vladimir Putin has concluded a lengthy phone conversation with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has told TASS. The two leaders were engaged in a call of some 2.5 hours for approximately 10 a.m. EDT on Tuesday. The conversation marked the second time the two leaders have spoken by phone since Trump took office in January. They are believed to have discussed a potential ceasefire deal for the Ukraine conflict, according to White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino, who tweeted during the call. The conversation was, quote-unquote, going well. The White House has also confirmed that Trump will speak to press after concluding the call. Tuesday's engagement came after the U.S. unveiled a 30-day ceasefire initiative following a meeting with Ukrainian representatives in Saudi Arabia. Putin has since stated that he is open to the idea of a truce, but has demanded that key issues be addressed beforehand. These include the question of what to do with the Ukrainian troops encircled in Russia's core region, as well as guarantees that Kiev will not use the truce to rearm and replenish its ailing ranks. Previously, Trump said he expects to make significant progress in establishing a ceasefire during the phone call with Putin, stating that they will discuss a number of topics, including quote-unquote land and quote-unquote power plants. Putin and Trump's call on February 12 marked the first time that the leaders of Russia and the US have spoken in years. It was followed by high-level talks in Saudi Arabia on February 18, where Washington and Moscow agreed to assign teams to work on resolving the Ukraine conflict, restore embassy operations, and address other points of contention in bilateral relations. Since then, additional discussions have been held in Istanbul, focusing on diplomatic funding and a proposal from Moscow to reinstate direct flights. You know, maybe Russia Today newspaper is not forbidden in the West, but I'm just keep saying that this is forbidden news because at least Russia Today is still forbidden on YouTube. There's a lot of news from Trump and Putin. Look. Even a phone call is something really positive for peace now. March 18th, Home World News. Trump-Putin phone call. What has changed since the last time they talked? In 5 weeks, the prospect of peace in Ukraine has grown closer than at any point in recent years. There's a file photo, not by this time. This photograph is from 2019. 2019. Looks they are really friends, isn't it? Russian President Vladimir Putin and his US counterpart Donald Trump will hold their second direct phone conversation in as many months on Tuesday. The conversation could possibly lead to a ceasefire in the Ukraine conflict. Their call, scheduled for 13 GTM, comes after weeks of intense diplomatic engagement between Moscow and Washington, as well as Kiev and its US and European backers. Here's an overview of key developments since Putin and Trump last spoke on February 12th. Pivot toward normalcy. Pivot towards normalcy. Upon beginning his second presidential term in January, Trump departed from the policy of his predecessor Joe Biden, who saw the diplomatic quote-unquote isolation of Russia in response to its involvement in the Ukraine conflict. Trump administration officials argue that mature statesmanship involves dialogue with both allies and adversaries, pointing to historic US-Soviet interactions during the Cold War. Yeah, a lot of diplomacy, talking about far past. Reviving diplomacy. On February 18, senior diplomats from Russia and the US met in Saudi Arabia to address the breakdown in communications. They agreed to normalize the operations of their diplomatic missions, which had previously been hindered by mutual restrictions. A follow-up meeting in Turkey a week later led to tangible progress, as the US accepted Alexander Darshiev as Russia's new ambassador to Washington. Darshiev, previously head of the Russian Foreign Ministry's North America Department, represented Moscow during the talks in Istanbul. Pressure on Ukraine. Central to Trump's diplomatic reset with Russia has been his refusal to continue Biden's commitment to indefinite support for Kiev. The new US administration now emphasizes that Ukraine must be willing to compromise to end the conflict. Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky initially resisted this shift. During a tense meeting at the White House on February 28, he openly challenged Trump's approach to mediation, prompting the Ukrainian delegation's abrupt departure and a temporary suspension of US aid and intelligence sharing. Kiev has since moderated several key demands, notably dropping its insistence on Western security guarantees as a prerequisite to negotiations after bilateral discussions in Jeddah last week. Zelensky publicly endorsed an unconditional 30-day ceasefire. Kursk defeat.
Colabora con un mejor viaje para todos.
Ukraine's negotiation position has been further weakened by battlefield setbacks in Russia's Kursk region, where Moscow's forces have largely expelled Ukrainian troops following an incursion in August 2024. The offensive, which has cost Kiev over 68,000 troops killed, wounded, or taken prisoner, was aimed at gaining leverage for peace negotiations by seizing internationally recognized Russian territory. However, following Russia's recent liberation of the town of Zhucha, once pivotal for Ukrainian military operations, Kiev declared its objectives in the incursion, quote-unquote, achieved. The Ukrainian military maintains its forces withdrew from the area in an orderly way and denies Russian and American assertions of near encirclement. Temporary ceasefire. Putin has expressed support for Trump's proposal for a 30-day ceasefire, but emphasized that Moscow will not permit Kiev to exploit the pause for military regrouping or reinforcement. Russia insists any suspension of hostilities must include freezing arms deliveries and halting forced conscription in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials, alongside several Western European leaders, have alleged Putin opposes a ceasefire, urging Trump to retaliate by increasing military aid and sanctions against Russia. Some media reports criticize Moscow for allegedly disrespecting Trump by making his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, quote-unquote, wait 8 hours for a meeting with Putin, a claim the US president has dismissed as fake news. Anyway, so a lot of diplomacy going on. Look, there's a strange news here. I'm going to read the related to Ukraine. And here we go, just more one or two. March 18, 2025, home Russian former Soviet Union shooter who downed Ukrainian drone honored by Russian parliament. The man is disabled an incoming UAV during the largest ever raid staged by Kiev earlier this month. And there's a photograph. State Duma Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin. On the left awards Alexander Yudayev. Alexander Yudayev, a Russian civilian who shot down a Ukrainian kamikaze drone during a massive recent UAV raid on Moscow, was invited to address the State Duma, the lower chamber of the country's parliament. The lawmakers praised the man on Thursday for his decisive actions and bravery, awarding him a certificate of honor for his quote-unquote personal contribution to the security of Russia's citizens. State Duma Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin commented on Yudayev for his quick thinking and resolve to engage the incoming drone. Quote, when drones attacked Moscow, he didn't watch them fly, but shot one down. Our Russian land is rich in its heroes, people who will always come to the rescue, lend a shoulder, and do everything to protect civilians. Let's thank him and his parents for raising such a son, Volodin said. I didn't know what happened. Let's find out. Yudayev, a military veteran and a retired police officer, distinguished himself during Kiev's largest ever UAV raid on March 11, when over 300 drones were shot down over the country. Some 91 made it to Moscow region and were intercepted there. Nevertheless, at least 3 civilians were killed during the attack and some 20 were injured, as debris from the drones inflicted material damage on the ground. One of the drones was shot down by Yudayev, who resides in Moscow region. The man heard the incoming aircraft during rushed outside with his shotgun, taking the UAV down with 2 blasts. The drone crashes in the open and exploded. Quote, I have fulfilled my civic duty. I knew that behind me was my city of Ozyori, the city of Moscow, and our entire great motherland. I never doubted for a moment that I was doing everything right. Thank you very much. I serve Russia, Yudayev told the lawmakers. Yeah. So that's it. A lot is going on in Russia. A lot is going on in Argentina too. PCO, the hardworking parties from Brazil, a trusted organization which I like, is going to Argentina. You can bet on it to see what's going on. This is a dictatorship from Javier Milei.